having technical problems. It's just that's how Discord works.
This is technical problems, and we'll have to order special elastic pants for it on the internet.
This is a fucking Aquateen thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's when Carl gets the shrink ray and he decides to enhance himself, and Meatwad asks if he's learning a second language.
Hello, America. What the fuck is this?
I should have brought alcohol.
There's a lot of changes here, by the way. Vicky's in another angle. Tino isn't in the vortex anymore.
He's not the laundry hamper.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. I was up all night puking, so the air in the vortex kind of gets a little stagnant. So I was like, you know what? I will sacrifice a little bit of audio quality to make sure that I don't puke all over the inside of a laundry hamper.
Oh, yes.
I have a new angle because I realized that a clothes bureau is a flat surface that I could put computers on. That
Indeed,
I don't have to move. So
all right, let's start the podcast, yeah?
All right, yeah.
No, we already started.
Ahoy, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, America.
Hello.
What's up?
So before we get started, Will, you mentioned that you have some questions this week.
Well, I have a few things to go over real quick. First, belated birthdays. Tino, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Yes.
Ironically, and if Tino would be so kind as to pop up a picture, I know I sent him one, or I put one in the Discord. He actually shares a birthday with my cat Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
she's
yes, I
17
share a birthday
now,
with a cat.
and she is still a fun-loving, energetic cat, even though she's slowing down a little bit.
Your cat's ready to graduate high school.
Oh yeah, she's asking Dad, when are you going to start giving me my 50 hours of learner permit time? Because I want to drive. Also, so this was a couple weeks ago, but happy birthday to Aiden, Neris' son. Aiden is now 18.
Oh,
and he will be
congrats to him.
And he will be going to college in the fall.
The March of Time.
Where's he
yeah.
going?
I see that 1,000-yard stare, babe. I see it.
I don't want to say the name of it, but it's a Pennsylvania school, and it's actually a pretty good school.
Cool.
So, yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to say the name of his college online, because then all the girls will show up at his dorm room, and he has to work for it.
Oh, yes.
But
you can't make it easy for anybody.
No, why would I? I am an evil person in that regard.
Yeah, we're not broadcasting jack and shit to the outside world for this podcast. I changed shirts.
The outside world.
Yeah, I changed shirts before I got on here because I was wearing a shirt from the company I work at. They ain't getting free advertising. They don't pay me for that.
My friend Emily gave me this shirt, so thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
And my lovely girlfriend got me this shirt. I love you, honey.
Love you too, one. Watch Dimension 20, everybody watching.
If we're going to talk about what people got us, thank you, Dave and Vicky, for the Final Fantasy Polygon figures that you got me.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Vicky and I were joking about the idea of you getting Aerith.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh boy.
We just we were like knowing our luck, you're going to get Sephiroth and Aerith. And that's the next best thing.
I don't have anything, but I did have this on my desk. It's a Cowboy Bebop iron pin. So there is that.
Should I show off the keychains?
Yeah, show. Oh God, yes. Okay, so shout out to a buddy of mine and Vicky's.
Thank you, Dave.
Who I think all of you except maybe Will have met.
Oh.
And I will simply say that their name is Mike, and I will leave it at that. Tino.
Oh boy, what did he do? I can't read that.
Hey, I'm walking here.
Hey, I'm walking here.
The other two will do more damage.
She's eating a pork roll, egg and cheese on a bagel. Anybody who says Taylor ham, get fucked. Almost fell. And this appears to be a Devils fan eating a pizza slice.
Ooh, is that Komi?
I don't know.
Komi can't communicate, but apparently she roots for the Devils.
Oh God.
And so
man.
I don't know
That's
where our mutual friend Mike got those from, but they are adequately
Probably
cursed,
Etsy.
and they were gifted to Vicky and I as a welcome to New Jersey gift for Vicky.
Aw, well, that's sweet.
Uh,
I also didn't get anything recently, but I just want to show off these cool Resident Evil pins of Leon and Jill.
Oh,
Two of my
yeah.
I
favorite
have a
characters
cool
ever.
pin. I have a cool pin over there that's like fucking JoJo's To Be Continued pin. That I have just
like that.
left on that counter for forever.
And
So
there it
instead, I'll
stays.
show off this other lovely thing my girlfriend got me, which is this dice container.
Nice.
I like that a lot.
Well,
That's really cool.
Well,
Yeah,
that
And also the dice within it. She didn't get me. I got this off a Kickstarter, but they have these within them.
that is a straight N64 controller.
Oh, yeah, it's hard. It
The
doesn't
clearest
show very
one is the
on camera.
D6.
All right, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's
well,
cool.
that Jill
That's
pin
actually-
is small enough to fit in a sandwich.
Uh,
Tino,
Dang it.
why?
Oh yeah. So Tino, I didn't get a chance to ask this of you, but you've experienced the wonderful world of tank controls.
Thanks. I hate it.
I know.
Yeah, it's not great.
What are you talking about? Tank controls are amazing.
I made a joke that I'm so glad you used in that episode title. Back when we
Yes.
started, which I said, okay, Tino, the first title of this game is going to be called, it's going to just be titled
Welcome to Tank Controls
in all caps. And then Will suggested that it should be it's actually Welcome to Tank Controls to mix with the Welcome to Raccoon City thing.
Yeah, anybody who watched the episode knows that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just
Although
reiterating it because I love the joke.
there's also just welcome
what?
to suffering.
You know what, Tino? Though, I am interested in what your thoughts were about the game now that you've had time to digest it. I know we got initial thoughts during the Let's Play, but I would like to know what your thoughts were after you've sat down and really thought about it.
So tank controls aside, and some of the wonky, some of the wonky ways in which you aim and fire, I did very much enjoy it. It kind of reminds me of a game that's going to seem like it's completely unrelated. Did any of you ever play the old
Countdown Vampires. I absolutely have, and
Shut
I
up, Will.
recommend it.
Did any of you ever play Titanic Adventure Out of Time? It was a PC game that came out in 1996.
I've seen it played.
Yeah,
I am
I've seen
familiar with
gameplay.
I am familiar with the genre that it comes from.
Was that the one with the rapping dog or the octopus
No,
that
that's
puts the
the
ship
movie.
back
That's
together?
the movie.
You're talking about a movie,
Was that the
Will.
one with the octopus that puts the ship back together and sails it to Manhattan safely?
Yes, well, that's exactly No. The reason I say that this game reminds me a little bit of Titanic Adventure Out of Time was because there was very much a sort of fetch quest mechanic to it where you had to have certain items, you had to go to certain places, do certain things in a certain order. And I think that may have been more of a common thing in the 90s, but I also did kind of enjoy the inventory management aspect of it because it forces you to be deliberate with every choice you make in every direction you go. So I can't wait to see where it goes. I will say that if it had not been for you guys guiding me, I would have been a lot more frustrated because it's the kind of game that I can tell that first play through, you have to spend a couple hours just figuring it out because every time you make a mistake, it could kill you.
Yeah,
But I like that sort of uncompromising aspect of it.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of hand-holding in that game, and I don't know if that was a deliberate or if it was just a limitation of the console. I'm not really sure. But yeah, they don't really tell you a whole lot in terms of what you need to do or thematically what the gameplay is going to be like. Because you just show up to the mansion and you're expected to fight these zombies, but they don't specifically tell you that you need to solve puzzles in order to progress to the next part. And I think that's a good and a bad thing. But
Right.
I mean, Steve, what more direction does anyone need other than the true survival horror begins now?
Well, I mean, in
Yeah.
fairness to the game as well, part of the charm of some of the earlier Resident Evil games is finding the files where some of the files will give you like background story, like that one we found where you get like the 4 itchy tasty message, but others will tell you things like, you know, like little hints like oh man, like there's a giant plant in the basement and it's, you know, normal weapons can't hurt it. In order to oh no, not that one, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of something else. I think that was in Resident Evil 2, but in the first Resident Evil, like I think they give a hint about like the hunters before you see them, and it talks about how they like toy with their food and rip it apart and everything, and then there's like a plant boss later in the game that you kind of get a hint on how to beat, because earlier in the game you pick up the chemical and you use it to destroy a smaller plant. So later on you realize, like when you see this giant plant boss, it's maybe I need a chemical to beat this thing too. So it gives you like very subtle hints. What's up?
I'm gonna need a lot more chemicals.
Oh,
oh boy.
Sounds like you got a plant trying to, you know, mess with your health right now.
So I do think that Resident Evil, the first 3 games are very much a solve this puzzle, get this thing to solve the next puzzle, get this thing to solve the next puzzle. All 3 games are like that, from the original PlayStation. And then I think like from Resident Evil 4 onward, they shifted to a, well, I mean, the puzzles are still there, but I think they're not as focused on the puzzles and more on the action.
I mean, the puzzles kind of come back in 7 and 8 to an extent.
They do, yeah. I think, well, Resident Evil 7, they were trying to kind of go back to their roots a little bit, and, you know, that's nice. And Resident Evil 8, I think they tried to do a bit of a hybrid, and I think they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I think that it'll be a pretty fun adventure going forward, if you're interested in playing Resident Evil 2 and 3 later.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Resident Evil 1 is a great time.
Yeah, maybe not for our Let's Play, because like if we do that, we're going to be at this forever.
I mean,
if
we do other Resident
There's other
Evils,
games we have to subject you to.
right? And if we do Resident Evil 2 and 3, I'm probably gonna, unless Steve jumps the gun on me there, I'm probably gonna recommend them, and I'm not gonna necessarily put. Oh, god damn it!
And there goes Will.
Away he goes.
Maybe one day he's gonna fix his equipment.
Yeah, maybe, but not today. I can tell you that.
Maybe in 2025.
Yeah,
when COVID-23 gets us.
Yeah,
I have to admit, Tino, I did not make the adventure game Resident Evil connection, and
what do you mean?
Thank you for that. Because because the Titanic thing, it was an adventure game, like an old point and click style adventure game.
Well, it was based off Sweet Home, the original game for NES, which is very similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, see, I never played Sweet Home. I had actually never even heard of Sweet Home.
Sweet Home was not localized in English.
Tino, can I just ask a quick question? Would you prefer a point and click survival horror?
No, don't do it, Will.
This is a trap.
Don't do it, Will.
This is a trap.
I know where you're going with this. Do not go there.
What? Why do
I
you
know what
have
I'm
Nicolas
looking for on
Cage's
the New York
face on a
trip.
spoon?
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, are we doing an escape room that's Resident Evil themed?
No.
Is this Clock Tower?
Hi, Vicky!
Oh, I don't want to play Clock Tower. I hate Clock Tower.
Will, don't do this to this nice man. Don't do this.
That sounds like what happens when Revy gets Whitman fever.
Clock Tower is... We don't want to play Clock Tower.
Maybe Clock Tower 3. Clock Tower 3 has magical girls.
Yellow blood.
Play any of them.
Okay,
Who
Vicky,
bleeds yellow blood?
Vicky, knowing the kind of horrors you've subjected us to in the name of magical girls, I don't trust you. Weren't you the one who suggested Monica Magica in Anime Club back in college?
That was not me, actually.
Uh-huh.
That's probably Flora.
Yeah, probably.
I had not heard of it before then. I had not heard of it before then. And then it taught me the 3-episode rule.
Oh,
So,
what's the 3-episode rule?
Give it
Guys-
3 episodes to blow your mind.
You have to watch 3 episodes in order to get an idea of whether you like an anime or not.
Right.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Instead of the first 10 minutes of the first episode, like we did, but when we were
So
voting.
you know what the lesson is, people? Hide the big twist, hide the big genre shifting twist in episode 4.
Wow.
Yeah, if any anime writers from Japan are watching us.
You know, we're the
All of them
authority
are.
on anime.
Yes, all of them are.
So,
One Piece is
12
the
of them,
treasure,
I
keep
guess.
it going, never end it.
Anyway, how about we get into the topic tonight?
Yes.
Sure.
in
Okay, so I've got kind of a multifaceted topic, but it's all related. I want you guys to think about what your favorite glitch is in any video game. You don't have to pick just one. And we'll go through and we can talk about all those. And then I want you to think about what your favorite mod is for any game.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to answer the second part of this question.
How did I know you were going to say that, Will? And
Hold
Will,
on, wait a minute.
you said that there was a question somewhat related to game development, so we could talk about that since it's kind of related to modding.
Oh,
So
I have instant answers for both of these.
So I'll start. My favorite glitch in any game is in Grand Theft Auto 4. And I discovered this not on my own, but by watching a silly glitch video on YouTube. For anybody who's unfamiliar, Grand Theft Auto 4 takes place in the Rockstar version of New York City. So everything is given different names. Brooklyn, I think, goes by the name of Bohan in this one. Or no, not Broker, I think, actually. So there's a place in Broker called the Firefly Projects, and there is a playground in the Firefly Projects.
Yes.
And I have discovered that one of the swing sets has some rather interesting collision physics. In other words, they're broken. If you drive your car up to the one swing set and you push it up against it, something about the collision physics, it will allow you to push the swing set out of where it's supposed to be anchored into the ground, and then it will violently reset itself after a couple seconds. When it does so, it will catapult your car clear across the city. Sometimes you will survive. It once catapulted my character all the way from Brooklyn to Manhattan. That's how far it threw me. Most of the time, what really happens is because you're sitting where you are and the car suddenly gets catapulted away, the game engine thinks that that your car was speeding and that you had a head-on collision. So you get catapulted through the windshield. Mm-hmm. So your car goes off to who knows where. Meanwhile, you're sitting there injured underneath the swing set of death.
Wow. And
it's just it's one of those things that's just so silly and so stupid that the first time I played it, I must have played it for hours just messing around with that one glitch. And some even stupider stuff will happen if you try to just have your character grab onto the swing set. It will just outright kill you and then you fall. So that swing set does not like people. It had a horrible childhood. There are two other glitches, and I say glitches in quotes, related to Grand Theft Auto 4. I love Grand Theft Auto 4 because of all the ways you could break it. The two other ways that two other ways. Sorry. The two other glitches that I like in regards to Grand Theft Auto 4 are not really glitches because they involve editing the game files, so it's kind of closer to a mod. But Grand Theft Auto 4 has unprotected game files, which means that you could go in and start messing around with the numbers. Well, you go into all of the vehicles and you can mess with the friction bias on the wheels. What do you think happens when you set the friction on a wheel to a negative number?
No.
Oh, man. Does it send you backwards?
It doesn't send you backwards. It means that rather than slowing down while your vehicle's tires are in contact with the ground, it will speed up.
Oh, man.
And
so
it will
just turns
continue
Liberty
to speed up.
City into Manhattan in winter.
Basically, there's a word for this. Carmageddon. If you set,
I enjoyed that game.
When you set the friction bias to something ridiculous like -9, cars will be flying all over the place, and you can't walk from one end of the block to the other without getting hit by something. It's chaos, it's explosions everywhere, and I love it. I absolutely love it because of how stupid it is. I was introduced to that one once again by another YouTube video where somebody did that. They called it Carmageddon gone Yakety. It was Nico Bellic. Yes, Nico Bellic running around Liberty City while cars and explosions are going off all around him, and it's the yakety sax music the whole time.
No, I can't go bowling right now. I'm about to get murdered.
Yes, I love that one. And the third and final quote-unquote glitch that I love in Grand Theft Auto 4 is silly things that can happen when you start messing with the weapons physics. Because you can impart, every time you get hit with a bullet, it imparts a certain amount of force onto whatever it hits. Okay. Now, if it hits a building, those are static meshes. It doesn't do anything to them. But if it's a dynamic object like a person or a car, then it'll impart a little bit of force. So I looked up what, your regular 9mm force imparts, and I changed it from like 150 newtons to 150,000. Then I loaded up the game and just shot someone, and they started sailing clear across the city, and I lost the mission because it said because they were still alive, because I had only shot them once. It wasn't enough to kill them. And so because they were now on the other side of the city, the game said, sorry, the target got away. Want to try that one again? And I'm like, oops.
Oh, so 150,000 newtons of force from a bullet was not enough to kill the person.
No, because the amount of force imparted is treated differently in the game engine than the amount of damage they receive from it. Now, here's what would happen. They'd be flying so fast that as soon as they hit the ground, they would be killed by the impact.
But by then the game has already told you failed the mission.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are so many stupid little glitches in Grand Theft Auto 4 that I could go through. Like, not even all of them were glitches. Like, some of it was just like things that the developers overlooked. Like, you could punch a car or shove a car, and the police could be standing right there and they wouldn't care because you were just punching it. And, okay, you just came into contact with a car, but you didn't actually use a weapon, so they don't care. And you could create a traffic jam that way because people would either flee when you did that, or they would get out of their car and try to fight you. So I would have moments where there would be like an entire block full of jammed up vehicles and a crowd of people chasing me around. And as soon as one of them punched me, then the police would intervene. It's stupid stuff like that. I love stuff like that. But anyway, okay. Those are my favorite glitches.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, I think it would be cool. Like, we'll all talk about our glitches first, and then we can do mods after that.
Sure.
Who wants to go next?
Ooh.
I actually got... Oh, go ahead, sweetheart.
I mean, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay,
let's go in order. Vicky, then Steve, then Will, then Dave.
Sure.
Okay. So mine, there's a few that are kind of silly and kind of stupid, and then there's one where the game is basically just a walking glitch intentionally, so I don't know if it counts, but starting with some fairly well-known ones. Anybody here played Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time?
Yes.
I did.
Are you going to talk? Actually, go ahead.
You ever just get tired of using the sword on Ganondorf and just pull out a bottle instead and just be like, fuck your bolts. Fuck your bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, okay, so the bottle thing is one of my favorites, but more than that...
That's a bottle adventure, isn't it?
Bottle adventure. It's like, but you look confused.
So wait,
I don't
is
think
this
Tino's played OOT?
I have. I just never finished it because I played it on an emulator in college,
Right.
and I didn't have an
So-
actual controller.
You wouldn't encounter this unless you were like a speedrunner or you watched a speedrun.
Okay.
Because it's related to. I mean, like using this technique.
Like this is a bottle that you use to capture fairies, right?
Yes.
Right.
So there's
So
a
you
point
can
in
use
the
that as
game-
a weapon?
Kind of. So there's a point in the game near the end. You're literally in the tower. Ganondorf is hurling like these lightning balls at you, and you could just pull out your bottle and doink them right back at him.
You're supposed to
don't know
play
if you're
tennis
supposed to
with
do
Ganon.
that.
You're supposed to play. Yeah, you're supposed to play tennis with Ganondorf by swinging down the Master Sword in order to hit the lightning bolts back. But because the bottle has like an attack animation when you go to swipe it, it counts.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's something with that with the Deku sticks too at some point, like how there's some crazy shit with that.
Yeah.
Wait. Somebody used Deku sticks in the final fight against Ganon?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because
I love it.
there's
I
certain
love
ways for you to what you can do is you can move certain items into the sword slot, and that item takes on the value of the last weapon that was used. Normally, it's the Master Sword, or it could be the Big Goron Sword, which I think has a value of 3, and Master Sword has 2, I think.
Yeah, it's stronger than the Master Sword, so.
Yeah. So it requires a glitch, obviously. But
Yeah.
it takes on the effect of a sword. And there's quite a few that have that property, like the Deku stick definitely has it, Deku nuts, the bottle, the big Goron hammer. I mean the Goron hammer and
Megaton Hammer, there it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some fun stuff there. That is a hilarious glitch in my opinion. I would bring up the Breath of the Wild glitches, but I'm pretty sure except for maybe bomb shield surfing. No, I think they patched that out too. There was a patch released in February that fixed Breath of the Wild like 5 years after its creation. So
Yeah, there's like
fixed or made less fun.
There's like no beneficial glitches in Breath of the Wild anymore. So
Nope.
Man,
you just have to play it the normal
what?
way. Sorry, speedrunners.
You have to satisfy yourself with the intended gameplay of the time stop boulders.
But Twilight Princess had, I don't know if this was a glitch or if this was intentional, but against Ganondorf once again, there was a funny little thing there. It's just like, oh, you think you could take me on, Ganondorf? And then you just immediately pull out the fishing rod and wiggle it around, and he gets distracted. He like looks at me, he's like,
And he is literally distracted long enough for you to immediately switch to the Master Sword and swipe him. Ever since I learned about this, I have never approached that fight honestly.
That's honestly, the fact that he gets distracted by a fishing line kind of tells me that that was intentional.
he's just like,
Yeah, and you know it's intentional because they kept it in the HD version.
oh wow, I didn't know that. But finally, the piece de resistance, and again, don't know if this counts because it's right up there with Gary's mod. Basically, the slinging around the sky really quick to the point where there might be just, I don't know how to describe this. It's terrifying. Goat simulator? When you finally get the devil goat, and then you fuck with gravity, and he just starts zipping around uncontrollably through the sky. It's like Gary's mod, but on crack.
That doesn't sound like a bug. That sounds like a feature.
It might be. I'm not sure. The whole game is either a bug or a feature, and I'm completely lost on it. But that's my favorite thing. I'm like, oh, this is basically uncontrolled fast travel. Sure, fuck it. Why not?
Uncontrolled fast travel. I love it.
Travel where? Who the hell knows?
Sorry, my cat's been driving me nuts. She just keeps knocking around stuff.
Kitty, no.
Kitty wants attention.
Yeah, well, she's not getting it.
Damn.
Damn.
All right. Is it my turn now?
It is now, yes.
Okay. So my first glitch is also an Ocarina of Time glitch. It's called the Wrong Warp. The Wrong Warp is a pretty complex glitch that was discovered many, many, many years ago by, I think it's ZFG, I think was the speedrunner who discovered it. Either him or someone else. But anyway, so the best way I can explain it is it involves taking like certain values of like what certain maps. Like every area is like a map, and that map has a hex value of some kind that's built into the memory. So let's say, for example, the Temple of Time is like 0F, 3, etc. Well, they figured out a way in certain parts of the game where you do these very complex series of moves and activations, and you're basically manipulating the code to get a certain value when you step into the warp after you defeat a boss. So when you jump into the warp after you finally do all your series of events, it warps you all the way to the end of the game, like all the way to like when you're about to fight the final Gannon. And it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's so like precise, but it's such a satisfying glitch. It really is.
He's beginning to believe.
Oh, sorry, I was going to ask. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, does this bypass the Gannon fight and you're already outside on top of the tower? Because I don't remember.
Yes.
So you can actually bypass the counter anti-copyright measures or something like that.
Yes.
When you're trying to escape the tower and only Zelda gets out and you don't. That's funny as shit. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So I think they found a way to get all the way to the very last Ganon fight, but the original glitch was literally right after you fight Ganondorf and he falls, and then you have to escape the tower.
So wait, what?
Yeah.
What is this with the copyright stuff and like Zelda making it out and you don't?
So should I explain it, or Steve, do you want to do it?
No, you can go ahead.
Sure. Sorry. There were certain anti-piracy measures installed in the Ocarina of Time, and like a lot of Nintendo software, like all of it basically. So you can play the game for a while. Certain things will be out of whack, like when you first meet Zelda and find out that, oh, Sheik is actually Zelda. Her hair's all fucked up. But the more important glitch prevents you from progressing. You make it to the end. You beat Ganondorf. The tower's collapsing. Zelda is supposed to lead you out of the tower, and there's like series of like iron bars that come down to bar your escape while like the tower's crumbling and you have a timer to get out. Zelda usually lifts those up with her magic powers, and just like you and her make a mad dash out. In this, the bars stay down. She just slips through the bars, and you're just chilling there in the crumbling tower. You cheated at what? Sorry, not cheated, but you stole the game. But at what cost?
Yeah.
Thanks for saving me. Peace out.
I mean, you got to play most of it, so I mean, it's all good.
Nintendo has quite a few of those. Earthbound is another one that comes to mind. Earthbound has a couple different ways of fucking with you, and then finally saying, get fucked. So if you play a pirated version of Earthbound, number one, many more enemies spawn than normal. Spawn rates. And then there's another check in the middle of the game. I can't remember what it is, but the last one is at the very end of the game when you're about to fight the final boss. One of the main like antagonists says, "Haha, you think you could play the game and get it for free? Sorry." And then the game just like locks up, so like you can never finish the game. So yeah. Pretty wild stuff. Nintendo did all sorts of stuff like that.
Honestly, I love their sense of humor there.
Yeah.
So I will. It's not Nintendo related, but that all makes me think of the Metal Gear Solid anti-piracy measure.
Which one was that?
The codec call.
Oh right, yeah, the codec call.
You had to. There was a point where you were instructed to call a certain codex frequency, and you weren't told what the frequency was. The only way you'd know is if you looked in the back of the box and saw it in one of the screenshots.
Yeah, so if you didn't have the game case, you would never know. Although at that point the internet was a thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, or you could just go through every frequency.
And I would also say this, people, I don't know who did this, because I didn't know anybody personally who did this, but apparently it was super common for people in, like, the 80s through 90s to literally throw out their game cases and game boxes.
Well, I don't
So
know.
those guys were fucked.
I don't think I ever kept boxes, at least not when I was young. Like regular NES boxes, I think I threw away, but like Super Nintendo, I started keeping them. So, but I think that was more of like a my mom did it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like
no.
you don't need this box anymore. Like I could keep the game manual, but they would throw the box away.
In my mom's basement, she literally, and last I checked, it's still in good condition. She still has the box for the console, my brother's NES.
Wow.
Yeah.
It stood the test of time.
Oh yeah.
We gotta go retrieve that at some point.
You gotta calm down.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so moving on. So my next glitch is actually Earthbound, which is coincidentally enough. So there's a glitch that is kind of it requires a little bit of setup. So Earthbound is seen as every area is a map, but it's like one big map, like very huge map, and it's all on one plane. So when you are moving between like towns and areas, you just move to another part of the map. It's like pointers, you know, like a point of reference. So there's a part of the game, I think it's like a third through the game. There's like the set of stairs that if you I guess I should explain like how like the original like glitch works. So there's a way that I'm sorry, I'm having trouble talking tonight.
it's okay.
There's a status effect called cold, and I believe it just deals damage to you over time. You know, like what kind of like poison, when you walk around you like lose health. So if you like get down to like a certain value, the game says, hey, you're about to die, maybe you should cure this cold. Well, if you walk on a staircase when that notification comes up, it effectively unlocks you from the map, and then you can just start traversing the entirety of the map anywhere you want to go. So you could just walk all the way to the end of the game if you really wanted to. It's not advisable because you're going to get killed, but you can basically skip a whole chunk of the game to a point where you can, you know, there's a part of the game that like gives you like a severe amount of level ups, and that's usually where speedrunners move to in order to skip a major part of the game and then get enough levels to beat the game. But yeah, that's another glitch that I find really fascinating because it's like a very specific setup, and I guess it's like some oversight by the developer. You know, they see this like status effect, and then suddenly you can just walk anywhere on the map. It's really wild.
Cool.
That's pretty nifty.
I'd like to clarify, by the way, before we proceed.
Yeah.
I'm not threatening to beat anyone with the Nick Cage spoon. I'm threatening to have it stare into their soul. That's all. It's not a threat of physical violence. It's of psychological violence.
I mean,
Yeah, I just thought it was a power
violence.
move.
it could be a threat of physical violence. That thing is made of wood. So.
I had one more, but now I can't remember what it is.
Ooh.
That's all right.
If you remember it, well, if you remember it, just let us know. We'll come back to you.
Okay, sure.
I froze
Right, well,
again.
Let's move on to Will then.
Hold on.
He broke.
Will's gonna. Well, actually,
I'm
gonna
maybe
do
next
this
right
week I can
now.
remember what it is.
Speaking of glitches,
Yeah, maybe. Did you remember what it is?
Actually, I do. I do remember now.
See, it worked.
Will jogged his memory.
It was perfect. It's in this glitch is from Metal Gear Solid 1.
Ooh.
And
Oh boy.
you can do this glitch in any version. So
Is it? Well, I'll let you say it, but I think I know what this is.
So there's a part in the fairly beginning part of the game where you're trying to find the DARPA chief. He's a guy who has information, more information based on the mission that you're going under. And there's a vent that's that you can like kind of crawl into a little bit. So if you like crawl into it, but then like turn around at a certain point and then stand back up, you like glitch through the wall, and then you can run around to the outside of the wall, and then there's a touch point that's like lets you go through a door, and that door lets you skip like half the game because that door is essential to like much further into the game, but it's usually locked up until that point when you reach it. So you just skip like a big chunk of the game, and it just warps you and where you're like captured, and yeah, so yeah, it's like an out of bounds glitch, but but it's cool that like there's like a touch point where like you touch the loading zone, and it moves you like really far into the game. So anyway, that's all mine. Mine are all very speedrun related glitches because I've been watching speedruns since like 2002. Like very, very like early on when like no one even knew what it was yet.
It was still like just a forum thing.
Yeah, people were like running like task runs of like tool assisted speed runs of Mario 3, and people were like looking at online like, man, this guy's amazing. But then they found out it was a bot, and like, that sucks.
You're on LUE on GameFAQs, aren't you?
Oh,
I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, Will, your turn.
All right, I guess to keep in the along the lines of speedrunning, and this is a glitch that I actually did recently while I was playing Resident Evil 2 Remake on my computer.
Oh no! Oh, did you do the knife glitch?
I did.
Oh,
I was hoping I was gonna get brought
Here
up.
we go.
So
we talked about the knife glitch.
The knife glitch is fun because you just unlock the frame rate and then just lower all of your settings, and literally, so. I've heard that if you could get your frame rate high enough and you hit Will Birkin at the right angle, one swipe, and boy, does he fall over that ledge real quick. And to explain this to anyone watching, basically, for some reason, the damage of your knife in Resident Evil 2 Remake is tied to how many frames per second whatever machine you're playing on it can handle. So if it's 30 frames per second, it's, capped at a certain damage. We'll just say 1 damage per swing. If your machine can handle 60 frames per second, suddenly it's 2 damage per swing. You might be able to see where this is going. If you can unlock your frames per second where it's like, you're getting like 300 frames per second or whatever, your knife becomes this all-encompassing, like, god-tier destruction weapon.
You're just gonna rock
It's like a Gatling gun knife.
You're just gonna Rock Lee unlock all of the gates on your fucking computer.
Oh yeah, it's like having Mike Guy as a weapon.
No.
So hold on a second. Is this related? If this is native to RE Engine, I wonder if you could theoretically do this with other RE Engine games.
So I don't believe so because I think
it was a programming oversight because they fixed it in RE3.
Yeah, the RE3 knife can't do this, and they haven't patched.
It was fixed for DMC5,
but they haven't patched it out of Resident Evil 2 Remake. So it might be something that was intended to be in that game, and then they realized like, well, we'll keep it for that game, but it's a little too overpowered, so we're going to get rid of it for future games.
Yeah.
So, along the lines of glitches in Resident Evil. This one's not so much as...
But before you get into another glitch, I would say that for science, when the NVIDIA 4000 series of GPUs come out, I think that we should install it in someone's computer and play RE2 just to see what we can accomplish.
Why stop at just one?
I mean,
okay, all right, let's crossfire them.
I mean, I'll probably end up buying an RTX 4000 series card because at that point I'll be 2 generations behind, and that's not acceptable for me. So.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, one of our future Let's Plays will be Resident Evil 2, where we just, we destroy all of Raccoon City with a knife.
You're just gonna see like Leon get to the first fight and start swinging like. He's constantly freaking out.
That's what caused the earthquake. It was somebody using the knife glitch.
We load it up so that every time you get into a fight, the music starts playing, and the music will be, as Vicky knows, move fast, baby, don't be slow. Step aside, reload, it's time to go.
We can't devil trigger him.
Oh, man.
Not with that attitude!
Sorry to interrupt you, Will.
I do think it's pretty cool the whole, like, collision detection, because I think that's really what's going on here with the knife. It can, if I could like put it down to like a really primitive kind of thing, like anyone remember Mega Man 1 when you like shot the guy and you paused it and you can unpause it and then pause it again and unpause it, and it would keep hitting him. Just like totally destroying the guy. I was actually
about to bring that one up, but yeah.
That's something like in Elden Ring too. Like there's like a weird collision detection with like the dog's hitbox, like the small dogs specifically.
The small. You mean the ones with the knives?
No. The
little
dogs. Yeah, the purse dogs, basically.
Like
the little purse wolves. Yeah,
Having not played Elden Ring, I'm getting some very strange mental images here.
Well, the thing is that
welcome
their
to
damage
Elden
values
Ring. We're going to fight chihuahuas.
Their damage values are fucked up because they have the ability to inflict bleed, and therefore, and the way bleed works in Elden Ring is that it's a status effect that builds up, and when it maxes out, you just take a shitload of damage all at once. And so they are and so it's not that their bites do a lot of damage, but their ability to inflict bleed is super high. So a couple strikes from them and you explode.
Their bleed is worse than their bite.
Oh.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it's funny that you brought up Elden, not funny, but it's interesting that, well, it's a coincidence, I should say, that you brought up Elden Ring. They fixed the PC performance issues. Like literally 2 weeks after the game came out, but like I didn't hear about it for some reason.
Oh.
So I went for like a whole month and people are like, yeah, it's been fixed for like weeks now. And I'm like, what, really?
Props to FromSoft. They're usually not so good about that and the fans have to step in.
Now fix the bleed dogs.
They did announce it. It's just that I missed it somehow. Maybe I was like away that weekend. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I came home. I was talking to my brother-in-law and he's like, yeah, didn't they patch that out? Like it's fixed now? And I was like, wow, really? And then I went home. I'm like, holy shit, this is great now.
That's
Welcome to Elden Ring. Enjoy.
Yeah, I can finally enjoy it now. I can finally enjoy dying now. That's great.
Isn't there an exploit or a glitch that somebody here took advantage of for Elden Ring with a specific boss battle? You know, before I get into that, I'll haze Dave later. Hey, Will, go back to your thing.
Yeah. All right, so
on this episode of Game Room
that I want to
Therapy.
talk about is also Resident Evil related. But it's not a speedrun thing, and I don't know if this is something you can cause intentionally or if it just happens. There's a glitch where Lady Demitrescu actually just gets larger.
I want to heard of
that. Like, she's already 9.5 feet tall, and she just gets...
Will, that's not a glitch. That is a dev's private design feature.
I mean, possibly, but you know. So I watched a video, and I gotta see if I can find it. But literally, she tries going through the door, and you see her like bend down to try to get through, and she gets stuck in the door. And the guy circles around, and he goes around, and he sees her like bent over trying to get through the door, almost like she's in one of those like online videos where somehow someone gets stuck in the washing machine.
I'm stuck.
Yeah, I can't get out. Help me.
This is that reinforces my theory that that's intentional. That's some dev's private little thing, and he's like, okay, great, I better remove that before we ship, but we already shipped. What?
Well, that probably
I did that as a joke, but they're going out like that.
If that was intentionally put in, then that would explain why that one guy who modded Resident Evil 8 to replace the knife with a fly swatter and the appropriate sounds when he smacks something said, wow, that was really easy to do. The game files fit naturally for that.
Oh my gosh.
The final glitch I want to discuss, I don't know if you could say this is a speedrunning thing, but it's definitely something that I think it has been patched out since. But it used to make one civilization in Age of Empires 4 completely untouchable. So for anyone who's played Age 4, there's a civilization called the Rus, which is, I guess, based off of Russia at that time.
Yeah, the Kievan Rus, right?
Yeah. So they have a special monk unit, which is mounted, as in their monks ride horses. And they can kind of fight. They're not great, but I mean, compared to other monks and like civilians and weaker soldier units, they can hold their own. Here's what you used to be able to do as the Rus. Now, in Age of Empires 4, every civilization's monastery can garrison a relic. And every certain period of time, that relic will generate 100 gold. And if you get the research for it, it'll generate 100 gold and 100 of every other resource as well. Now, obviously, if you have 2 relics stockpiled, you'll generate 200 gold instead. And so on and so forth.
Man, I got these pieces of the cross, and now I've got ham sandwiches.
Exactly. The bread and fish, Tino, bread and fish. But here's what the Rus can do.
Whatever.
Step 1, you build a monastery. Step 2, you build a monk. Step 3, you find a relic. Step 4, you put the relic in the monastery. Step 5, you build 19 more monks. Step 6, once all of your monks have been built, you send all of them to collect that one relic. Step 7, all 20 monks will collect a relic from the monastery, which will then reflect all 20 of your monks holding a relic, and that monastery will say it has negative 19 relics garrisoned. Step 8, you delete that monastery to remove any potential negative value. Step 9, you build a new monastery. Step 10, you garrison all 20 of your new relics. And you profit. Now, you don't have to stop there. I took it a step further, and I built 21 monks. So with the 21st monk, I would put the relic in another monastery I built, and then repeat the process. At one point...
Will basically figured out how to build a megachurch in Age of Empires 4.
Yes.
We have the skull of St. Anders, and I also have the skull of St. Anders, and I also have the skull of St. Anders, so on and so forth.
Complete with shitty parking and everything.
Exactly. And those little golf carts that they use to ferry the big donors to the front pews.
Yes.
God.
Exactly.
But, so in one game before this got patched out, I literally had over 700 relics garrisoned. And when you have 700 relics garrisoned, that is 70,000 gold coming in every minute.
Nice.
Now that's also with the research to get, it generates every other resource as well. And I just pumped out hundreds of knights. I literally had like 10 stables constantly producing. And I just sent them all over the map, and I literally, I would occasionally check in. I would see siege weapons just like bombarding my knights and killing them. I'd be losing like 40, 50 at a time, and I'd be like, okay, keep them coming, because I was able to produce endless supplies of them.
You Zerg rushed in Age of Empires.
I literally Zerg rushed with one of the most expensive units because I could.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Kerrigan?
Oh,
Yes.
The glitch, I think, has since been patched out, but it was fun.
That's
while it
an
lasted.
entertaining glitch.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, but that aside, Dave, take it away.
So I've got a couple categories of this. One is the historical glitch, which is stuff like combos in Street Fighter used to be a glitch. Glitch and whatnot. Oh, sorry, my headphones are being weird. The combos in Street Fighter used to be a glitch. There's the ones that everyone knows. There's the ones that everyone knows about, things like Missing No and whatnot. But one of my personal favorites is not so much a speedrunning glitch as it is an art piece, which is cartridge tilting.
Ooh, cartridge tilting. Oh, man. When you get super weird artifacts everywhere.
Yeah, it's just nightmare artifacts. And the thing is, this is something that people were able to do up until the N64 days. And it's responsible for one of my personal favorite memes.
Oh, God.
Which is when you use GoldenEye 64 and you tilt the cartridges, the models freak the living fuck out. And someone took footage of these models and put it to this Japanese pop song creating Get On.
You didn't know
Which
and
then being a meme, it moved from people decided to turn it into a stop motion dance.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'll let you and anyone who wants to look it up because the song is super copyrighted to hell. It is Geddan.
Oh my gosh.
So if anyone wants to look that up, be my guest. But I do have a semi-speedrunning glitch. And I want you to bear with me, because this takes a bit of explanation, and it ends on a rather unfortunately named but hilarious note. In Bloodborne, there is this system called the Chalice Dungeons, which are these randomly generated dungeons that you can go through separate from the main game to gather resources and get souls to level up and all sorts of stuff. They're not really well regarded by people. Until people realized, because these are randomly generated, there's a level of infinite to them. And when you get deep enough, they start to fucking break.
Oh, so it's like the edges of the Minecraft world.
What?
It's like the edges of the Minecraft world.
The edge
Kinda,
of Minecraft
actually.
world, yeah.
And people have uncovered, using this method have uncovered things like bosses that were never finished and areas of the game that never made it in. And eventually people learned how to manipulate these things to generate desired outcomes.
Oh.
Which leads to the best way to level up in Bloodborne. Which is creating a chalice dungeon with the code spelled CUMMM 3Ms FPK. What happens is this: you enter the chalice dungeon. You walk 2 feet forward. Something in the dungeon fucking dies, and you get 83,000 souls instantly.
Ah.
What the fuck?
I never heard of this glitch. That's very interesting.
So this glitch was named by a 7th grader?
No, because it's because of the code that is required. It's because of the code that is generated for the chalice dungeon.
Okay, so that the code generated is just random. It just happens to be
not so much random, but I think it determines each of the letters is like determining something that's an element of the dungeon, like an element of the tile set in the enemy layout. And for some reason, good old helps you level up. And I apologize to everyone who's listening to our podcast who has to listen to me say these words that Tino has to bleep.
Well, to all of the
we don't bleep anything. Only personal information.
I mean, look, to all of the children under the age of 12 watching this, even though you may be confused by all the bleeps that Tino has, if you go to www.com, I will be putting up the uncensored bleeps on my own personal website, so you could hear all the nasty things we discuss on this show.
You know what though? We could talk to them about the Minecraft glitch. You know, when you go to the very end of the map. Tina, did you ever see that video of a guy who built a train that took him all the way to the end of the Minecraft world?
So I didn't see that particular video. It's been years since I've seen anything related to the edge of the Minecraft world, but I do know that it starts to get really glitchy once you get far enough out.
It does.
So that's the midnight train going anywhere.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah, some guy
he took the midnight train going nowhere.
Some guy made some kind of not like a script, but it was like an automatically creating track. As the mine cart was going along the track, so it would automatically create new track, and it would just keep going and going and going. So
that it could get to the edge of it.
He started at the very beginning of the game, and, you know, set up his minecart thing, and then just started going in one direction. And he like streamed it on Twitch or YouTube or something. And it went for like days and days of him just taking this minecart all the way to the very end. Because, I mean, the distance is an astronomical amount. Like, it takes such a long time to get there.
Like, the Minecraft world is something like 8 times the surface area of actual planet Earth. If each block is 1 cubic meter.
It's like mind-blowingly large. So, but he did do it, and, you know, he finally got to the very end, and it's super glitchy at the very end. Like, there's, like, the map just kind of falls off, and there's, like, patches where there's just pixels. It gets really strange. Anyway, that's for the kids 12 and under.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. We were never meant to see these things. We have gazed into the abyss.
All right, do you have anything else, Dave?
Let's see. I discussed combos. I discussed. You already brought up another one that I was going to discuss, and I can't remember what that one was now.
That's all right.
Ring.
Okay. What specifically in Elden Ring? Because Elden Ring's in that early period of Souls where there's still a decent amount of jank.
Oh, you know the one I'm talking about.
It's a FromSoft game.
The accidental debuff.
Oh God! There is a boss in the game Elden Ring. His name is Star Scourge Radahn. Now, this dude in Elden Ring is a goddamn spectacle fight, if I've ever seen one. You have the ability across a gigantic battlefield, a whole desert, that you can fucking run across it with your horse, and you can actually quick summon in other NPCs to help you fight this guy. And that's kind of how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to summon them in so that they can distract him, and you occasionally get a hit or two on him. Because the thing about Radahn is this. He's fucking huge. He has bullshit magic, and he's got bullshit swords. And with bullshit range. And this guy can insta-kill you in one hit. And a couple weeks ago, FromSoft released a patch to Elden Ring to deal with some of the more jank bullshit. And Radahn got a nerf that everyone saw coming a mile away. Because, hey, fighting that guy went from the usual Souls layer of bullshit, of difficult but fair, to, oh, this is actual bullshit and I'm getting angry. And this led to people joking about, haha, I beat Radahn before the nerf. LOL. And that was a fun little time. Until a new patch rolled out, and FromSoft revealed, oh, the nerf was a mistake.
Oh, we're sorry.
We're sorry. Were you in the middle of this somewhat easier because his damage was slightly reduced, but still very difficult fight? Were you in the middle of it? Because, you know, you didn't get around to beating him, and you're like, I can take this guy later on.
No.
Get fucked! And now people are once again getting fucked. And there's been an interesting, if minor, inverse of the old joke about the badge of honor, which is now the I dodged bullshit Radahn.
That's funny. Dark Souls really just has a whole history of weird glitches. You remember that camera angle glitch that they had in Dark Souls 3, I want to say, where
Which one?
Well, there's one where you fall off a cliff, but you quit out at a certain point, and then it unlocks the camera, and you can just run anywhere you want, and you're invincible to other monsters.
Yeah, it activates NoClip.
It activates NoClip. Yeah, it was super ridiculous, but yeah.
I think there were a couple of Halo glitches that worked that way too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Souls games are released with a certain amount of jank, and some of it gets patched, but not all of it.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of thing is something that would only be found by someone who's actively looking for it. I really don't feel that people would actually find that NoClip glitch on their own. Someone had to like glitch hunt that, you know. And there's entire communities of glitch hunters that just look for vulnerabilities and glitches in games so they can be exploited by speedrunners and other people that are just interested in that kind of stuff.
Shout out to the YouTube channel Zuli the Witch, who has really entertaining videos where she goes and just pulls apart the Souls games.
Yeah, and there's another YouTube channel that's called I forget the name of the actual channel, but he does like Beyond the Boundary, where he like goes
Boundary Break.
Boundary Break.
Yeah, Boundary Break. Thank you.
She says, or Shesses, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, that channel is super awesome too. Like really, really cool stuff. I think he did Elden Ring recently, right?
Right.
Well, this is also the channel that I think he did the videos on how Mr. X and Nemesis work in the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, which was really neat to see.
The spawn points and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He also, my personal favorite is the one he did for Shovel Knight, revealing that Shovel Knight, which is a 2D platformer, is actually a 3D game, which is just 2D sprites and sprites and the parallax effect being generated is because it's actually 2D planes being projected in a 3D space.
There's another game
that's
where
one of the easiest ways to do it. Yeah,
where like a character is just like under the map and he's just like chilling there until like he's needed, and then they just move his pointer from like under the map to like on the map. It's just like it's really weird.
There were a couple of times when I'm fairly certain I did something like that for Swan Song, because it was like, okay, what would be simpler, getting something to spawn and load in, or just loading it in and then hiding it somewhere, and then when it's needed, just like for the that's what I did for the death planes, the static that chases you.
Yeah.
They were hiding underneath the ocean the whole time, because at that point in development, I couldn't figure, like, I hadn't learned enough to know how to just make them spawn on command. So I was like, all right, I'll just hide them under. So if you fell down into the ocean and like you were looking the exact right direction, you could actually see a death plane under the water.
I think we did once or twice.
That's interesting. Well, it makes sense. You're loading all the textures and the code into the area first, and then you just move it when you need it. That way, there's no disconnect there or any potential lag by loading it in, you know?
Well, no, it wasn't nearly that clever. I technically didn't know how to make it load on command yet when I was building that sequence. So
yeah, but that's like some emergent thing that you discovered that ended up being to your benefit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Dave, is that it?
Oh yeah, that's it for me.
Okay.
Mod time.
Yeah.
I say we go in reverse order for mods. Tino, did you give your mod though?
So Dave goes again?
Yeah, did you talk about your glitches, Tino? Your favorite glitches?
Yeah, he talked at the very beginning.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
I started with Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4. Yeah. You know, with the 9mm fucking bazooka cannon.
Right. Yeah, my brain was just like, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Destiny.
And the Swing Set of Doom.
Yeah, the Swing Set of Doom launching cars is beautiful.
Yeah, I'll send you guys a link to a wonderful video that came out, goodness, in like 2008 or something. It's got all kinds of crazy Grand Theft Auto 4 glitches.
He sent me that Yakety video, and it is well worth it. Whenever I feel a little bit down, I may just pop it on my phone and be like, oh god, I can drive better than this. But anyway.
But yeah, well, if we're going in reverse order, then Dave, what are your favorite mods?
So
maybe stick to just one mod.
Yeah, we'll just do one.
I will pick it out because I am a big fan of modding the game known as Half-Life. And I could sit here and I could talk to you about Counter-Strike, but I'm not going to, because my real favorite mod was not on Half-Life but on Half-Life 2. And it was a 10-year effort that eventually became so big it became its own game.
Gary's mod.
And that's called Black Mesa.
Never mind.
What were we gonna call it?
Half-Life 1.
I thought you were alluding to Gary's mod for a second.
No, it was a 10-year project, but Dave can explain.
So yeah, the deal with Black Mesa is that when Half-Life 2 was released and had the new Source engine, and looked amazing for the time. And it's still, Half-Life 2 still looks pretty good.
I think it
People were, what?
I think it does. It looks amazing even now.
People wanted to know, hey, are you going to go back and give Half-Life 1 this treatment? And Valve was like, sure. And they released Half-Life Source, which is Half-Life running on the Source engine, with its original models and voice acting and none of the things that make the new Source engine look cool. So Half-Life was a revolutionary game for its time, but it looked dated.
It looked dated even when it came out, in all honesty.
I mean, yeah, but it still did a lot of revolutionary things.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the storytelling alone is pretty revolutionary for its time.
And like the environmental storytelling stuff, but that's a discussion for another podcast. A bunch of intrepid modders called the Crowbar Collective, who became known as the Crowbar Collective because it was two separate modding efforts that unified, they came together and they basically went through and they identified what needed new models, what existing models could be taken from Source, what could be repurposed, because not all the same weapons were in Half-Life 1 and 2. What needed to be, what they could maybe improve upon. And they just went to town. They released the game in two parts. One which adapted what were called the Earthbound chapters of Half-Life, which were basically just a straight up, I'd say a remake of Half-Life 1 as much as they could. And the other was basically the new version of the ending levels of Half-Life, which take place on an alien world called Zen. And they used what they learned in remaking that initial thing to basically mimic Valve's style and recreate Zen from the ground up as basically a new video game. And it's an amazing effort. It truly is. Speaking of NoClip, a YouTube channel which is called NoClip, did a whole documentary where they interviewed the Crowbar Collective about the effort.
Yeah, it's like a 2-hour documentary. It's super interesting. Like they go into the whole like design changes and the choices that they made to like make things feel more intuitive for players, because there are some parts of the original Half-Life that don't seem very like new player friendly. That there's like not a lot of hand holding, and there's some places where they felt like they should have. So they would like move certain things in the level to make it a little more obvious that like, hey, turning this valve will turn off this fire, and that fire where they used to be is now a new pathway. But it would like visually show the person, because based on the camera angle of turning the valve, it would show the fire being put out. But it wasn't like that in the original Half-Life. It would be in like some other room where you would turn it, and then you'd be like, okay, what did that do? And they would have to try and figure it out. So like they talk about those types of design changes and like them moving models around where it makes the game feel more fluid. And they also tightened up a couple of areas, like there's like a mine cart thing that's like part of the game, and that's super long and drawn out, and they cleaned it up by making it a lot shorter. And
I think I actually got lost during that part of the game when I played it. I was like, where am I going?
Yeah, I mean, it's super, that part's super annoying. And so I'm glad that they changed that. And Zen, they fleshed out Zen in a very like organic way. And I mean, it's just, Black Mesa is an incredible project. I mean, it makes sense because it was like a 10-year project, like you said. They spent years and years and years figuring out. I mean, it was basically all volunteers. Like I don't think they got paid. For any of this. Well, maybe they did eventually. I'm not sure.
They did when they
did go to retail.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
Yeah, so they did get paid eventually, but it was all just people passionate about the game and just making something super special.
So that's it for me. And I did link the documentary so that Tino can include it in the show notes.
Highly recommend you watch the documentary. It's fascinating. It is 2 hours long, so just know that going in.
Well, I guess on the topic of mods, so I love how passionate the Resident Evil community is.
Oh, you're gonna steal my idea.
Well,
go ahead.
So they have done a lot of crazy things. Like, hey guys, do you remember like the meme online about like the woman at Starbucks wearing nothing but the apron and like offering you a certain kind of milk for your coffee?
Oh, you're not stealing my idea. Okay,
No.
go ahead.
You remember how Hana Uzaki kind of took the world by storm for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Lady Demitrescu was first revealed and everyone was like, "Oh my God, look at like the tall woman." Like, I think one of the best memes was like Tormund from Game of Thrones, like looking around and seeing Lady Demitrescu and going, "Where's the big woman?" So the Resident Evil mod community is so crazy. They made a mod, and this isn't my favorite mod, by the way. I'm going to get to that in a quick second. But they made a mod where instead of playing as Claire Redfield, you play as Hana Uzaki. Instead of Mr. X chasing you, it's Lady Dimitrescu chasing you. And instead of your normal clothes, you're both wearing nothing but the Starbucks apron. This is what Resident Evil modders do in their spare time because they are bored and, I'm going to guess, incredibly horny. But that is not my favorite mod.
Clearly.
I posted my favorite mod. It's a Resident Evil 3 remake mod. And I posted this because it's in our thing. I'm sure Tino could show like a screen from it. And he'll know exactly what to show. And if he doesn't, I'll tell him. What I love about this particular mod is in the remake of Resident Evil 3, I didn't hate the new design for Nemesis, but I didn't love it. So modders redesigned Nemesis in Resident Evil 3 remake to look faithful to his original appearance, and oh my God, is it beautiful. This is something that Capcom could have done themselves, but it looks really true to the original design of Nemesis. It really looks intimidating. They've done their best to match the mods version of his mouth with, like, you know, whenever he speaks or grunts anything, and it just looks gorgeous. Like, they even tried to, I think there's even a version of the mod where instead of wearing like all the body bags, he's actually wearing his old like armored like leather stuff, like his trench coat and everything. Like, so he looks really cool. But I love when, you know, that mod kind of exemplifies my favorite kind of mod where they do something that, like, you know, is like a throwback to an earlier game, or it improves on something that the fans really wanted to see. And that's, again, my favorite mod. Just updated, better looking Nemesis.
Cool.
Steve?
Nice.
Okay, so I'm also going to talk about Resident Evil. So a mod was released for Resident Evil 2, I want to say last year, and it was based off the PC version. So, I mean, obviously, it makes it easier to mod a PC version of a game. So someone thought it would be funny to make a story based around Kendo, the gun shop owner in Resident Evil 2. He's only a character for maybe 2 minutes, and then he's forgotten about. But this guy, modder,
that's a funny way of saying killed.
Yeah, he's killed. But I mean, a lot of people get killed in Resident Evil. Well. Anyway, so this lone modder, it was made by one guy, by the way. He made an entire game, 2 games actually. There's a part 1 and a part 2. The part 1 plays like pretty normally for most of the game. Like you see Kendo. So what happens? I don't want to like spoil the whole thing, but Kendo, normally he gets killed in the first like few minutes of the game. But in this one, he actually survives, and then he runs away. And periodically throughout the game, you see him in various situations. And some are comical, some are more serious. But near the end, they start to unfold this story that you're not really too privy to, but they kind of allude to something going on. And the game ends with that. Then he releases part 2, and part 2 is a whole new game. Like, I'm talking like built from the ground up different game. The maps are still relatively the same, but they tell this like really intricate story about Kendo and some conspiracy stuff, and there's time travel, and there's Terminators. Like it's absolutely insane. Like it's a wild ride.
David immediately Googles.
Yeah, I want to know the name. I need to look this up.
So part 1 is called Kendo's Cut, and part 2 is called Kendo Uncut.
So
okay.
I thought, Steve, when you started mentioning the mod for Resident Evil 2, I thought you were actually going to bring up the other one that I've been watching. It's called During the Storm.
Ooh, yeah, During the Storm is cool. Is that actually out fully? I thought it was a demo only.
No, I keep seeing people playing parts of it. I don't know if it's just the demo, but I keep seeing videos where like they show like how you can make different choices. Like there's like 2 different outcomes that not just 2, but there's 2 ones that happen if you have Kevin drink at the bar or not. And even that scene is pretty nifty because you see like NPCs in the bar. Jill shows up at one point. Elza Walker's there drinking, and Kevin has a thought to himself like, is she old enough to be here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I thought you were going to mention that one, but yeah, Kendo's Cut and Kendo Uncut are really funny as well.
Yeah, I mean, the modding community in Resident Evil Classic games for PlayStation or /PC are pretty incredible. There's another mod for RE2, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but there's another one called Lords of Necropolis.
Oh yeah,
which is one of those games where they just kind of really up the difficulty with like the amount of zombies or the amount of like hunters or whatever are on the screen.
Is that
like
is that the one where at the beginning you could pray to the statue to make the game easier?
Yeah, it is. So
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the modding community in the Resident Evil Classics is super active. Oh, they're always making new, fun, and interesting stories and changes to the game. I mean, it's super cool. But Kendo's Cut and Kendo Uncut, I highly recommend watching. They're funny, they're super entertaining, and it's just a really fun ride. Buck Basoup is the guy that runs both of them, and like he shows the games in their entirety. So if you're interested in just watching a guy play it, you can do that. Anyway, go ahead, Vicky.
Oh boy, this is gonna be difficult to follow. So do y'all like The Sims?
Oh no.
I've heard good
things.
things.
Actually, yes and no. Yes and no.
Do you want to explain why you like them? Yes and no, or
no.
Not yet? Okay.
You can just keep going.
So I back in, I feel like it was like 2003, 2004, some shit, The Sims 2 was released, and as the shitty little 14, 15-year-old I was at the time, I played it and I enjoyed it. Got it again later in life, like right after I graduated college, and it felt really dated in a lot of respects. So I consulted the internet and found a lot of good quality of life mods for The Sims 2 to make play more interesting, more fun, like more streamlined. Example, centerpieces for tables, centerpiece foods. Once you have that centerpiece there, for whatever reason, your Sim's too much of a stupid sack of shit to sit down in front of that and still have their plate on the table. Or they'll walk away from the stove while the oven is while it's going, and then just not come back. Or they'll stand in the doorway and bitch because there's a plate in their way. So there are so many like amazing quality of life mods that there are to like really enhance the experience of playing The Sims 2. None of which I'm going to discuss because there's a much more important one that I am both ashamed and still a teensy little bit amused by. It's called the Babby Roaster.
Oh gosh.
All right, good night, everybody.
Vicky was telling me about this earlier, and I didn't think about the fact that it could make it into the podcast.
You could have discussed Devil May Cry Strive, but you chose this. Okay.
Dave, this one hits me directly in the Kokoro. Okay,
I don't think she could have picked anything but this mod.
So again, I want to point out I am ashamed of this, but I keep telling myself so I can sleep at night. At night, these are pixels. These are pixels. These are pixels. So you ever have too many babies on your lot? You ever not have?
Hold on.
You know. Last Friday, I had like 4 babbies on my lawn.
Oh, that's
and I was
a problem.
like, man, what am I gonna do with all these babbies?
Did you find that you're running out of food too?
You know, I was just thinking about that. Maybe I could roast the babby.
So you pop it right into the babby roaster. You pop the babby into the babby roaster. Your sim just grills it up. And then you just pull out basically a baby-shaped meatloaf. And it's erased from the game files, too. That child no longer exists. Unless they change that. They might have changed that. You might be able to revive it. You might be able to actually revive it. I go back on what I said. I think you'll be able to revive the baby. But then you could have infinite baby meatloaf.
All right, so...
Sweetheart, do you have a modest proposal?
I'm going to...
A modest proposal.
All right, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm planning on having children one day, and I very much like to thank you, Vicky and Dave, for letting me know to never let you two babysit.
I'm not going to dump your baby in barbecue sauce.
That's all her.
You were going to let them before this conversation?
I mean, I was at least going to
That's the
consider
biggest
it.
concern.
I was going to at least consider it.
Look, I love kids,
Panther
and
can
I'm a
do a better
vegetarian.
I'm
Damn!
letting you near my nephew again.
I'm not gonna turn him into a fucking steak sandwich, Dave!
Well, yeah, now you're not, because he's aware and he's going to protect him.
I want a babby cheesesteak now.
Nah,
Don't
California
you start.
cheeseburger.
Let's not make this worse.
Am I gonna have to get
I'm pretty
restraining
sure,
orders for the rest
the
of you?
past 10 minutes have put us on some kind of FBI watch list, so let's calm down.
No, we've been on that watch list since episode 1, bro. What are you talking about?
No. They've just, like, there's some FBI intern who's just, like, moving him over to this category.
We're on a spreadsheet, and we're just under like the really bad column.
The director of the department of the FBI that's monitoring us is like, all right, who had babby roasting this week? Who had babby roasting?
Babby roaster wasn't on my bingo card this week. I don't know what's going on over there.
Well, we've been on a list ever since college when you and Dave Scolari insisted on playing JFK Reloaded.
Reloaded.
I played that as a child.
Look, it's not
right,
my
you're on the
fault
list
that
too.
you guys introduced me to the game, and then I just had the bright idea of playing the Yakety sax music on that one playthrough where the cars just crammed into each other.
That game fascinates me because it's the clearest example I've ever seen of not the intended use. Like, the guy made it to prove that to debunk assassination conspiracy theories, and all everyone did was like, oh, hey, sniper trainer.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're definitely on an FBI watch list. We're under the column question mark.
See, when I was in college, I was playing pure wholesome games like Mischief Makers on an emulator.
You know, now we're
definitely on a list. You mentioned emulators. Nintendo, we gotta go.
Now we're on Nintendo's watch list.
Now we're on Nintendo's watch list.
Hold on. Now that I'm thinking about it,
what?
I still have my old computer that I have that on, and I now have a hard drive data extraction device. I can retrieve that game, Tino.
Oh no!
Don't do it.
But the real question is, can you keep your video camera on for a single podcast?
No, we already established this.
Damn.
So anyway, oh man, that was. Woo! Boy, was that fun.
Vicky, anything else you wanted to discuss in regards to mods?
I'm not going to implicate myself further.
All right. Vicky's pleading the fifth.
I hear the Sims 4 modding is pretty ridiculous now. Like, there's so much shit you can do with like decorating your house.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can get very granular, like very like small, like fucking picture frames and shit that you can just put anywhere on the wall. It's like wild.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
like that's
how
really nice.
picture frames work.
So, Tino.
Hey, you guys want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 4?
Oh, hold on, not yet.
Okay, sorry.
I still have.
We'll get to Sora's.
I'm sorry,
proportions soon
Tino. I
enough.
forgot that you were last. Sorry.
Yeah. There are mods regarding two games that I wanted to talk about. The first one is Battlefield 1942. Came out in 2002, and it had a very rich modding community. It was kind of my introduction to the world of first-person shooters. And there were a lot of people who loved to mod. One mod that came out was pretty ballsy considering the time frame. So Battlefield 1942 takes place during World War II, obviously. There was one team that modded it and turned it into something called Desert Combat. And Desert Combat basically took the vehicles involved in the Iraq War on both the Iraqi side and the US side and replaced the vehicles in the game. So instead of driving a Sherman tank, you could get in an M1 Abrams. And they messed around with some of the physics of the aircraft and all that, so that you could, for example, get into a Harrier jet and it would actually lift off vertically. None of the aircraft in World War II obviously could do that. So that was they considered that a total conversion, but that wasn't quite right because you still were on the same maps as all of the World War II battles. But there was one there was one total conversion which actually deserved the name of total conversion, and that was Galactic Conquest, I think. And that was a Star Wars mod. And that one took literally all of the assets and made them Star Wars. So you would have functional AT-ATs. You would have speeders that never touched the ground. You could get into X-Wings and TIE fighters. You could control an entire capital ship. Like you could get into like the blockade runner and actually drive it around a space map. And the amount of work that it must have taken in order to make that work, because they weren't just swapping out assets, they were messing around with how different parts of the game even functioned. To this day, I'm continually impressed by it. So that's the one game that I thought was really cool as far as mods were concerned. Another one is a mod called Cursed Halo. And I've shown this to Vicky before. Cursed Halo basically takes the PC version of Halo Combat Evolved and injects a whole lot of chaos into it. For instance, plasma grenades. Normally, you throw a plasma grenade. After a couple seconds, it goes off. Here, they call it a D20 plasma grenade, and they call it that because random things will happen when you throw a plasma grenade. Sometimes it will just fizzle out and nothing will happen. Sometimes it will spawn a weapon. Sometimes it'll spawn a vehicle. It will sometimes spawn weapons that don't belong, like the Minecraft Diamond Sword. Sometimes it will just kill everyone on the map, including you.
Are you telling me they created a wild magic grenade?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what they did. That's not the only thing they did to Halo. The warthogs are all messed up. You can get a super stretch warthog that sits like 8 people in it. You can get
The warthog limo.
Yeah, basically a warthog limo.
Drive to war in style.
You can
Master
get...
Chief, it's time for the prom. Do you have your grenade corsage?
Oh no!
You can get a regular warthog. You can get a tiny little warthog that is about the size of you know those little Jeeps for children that they drive around.
So that's a young
I had one
warthog.
of those.
Yeah, it's that size. You can see a little RC antenna coming out of it. And, you know, Chief just sits down on it like this overgrown freak, and you drive that around. Let me see. Oh, yes. The elites would be armed with, rather than plasma pistols, bit-crushed plasma pistols, which basically means they're shooting pixels at you. The grunts would get magical girl heart guns instead of plasma pistols, and your assault rifle was an accident waiting to happen. You would hold down the trigger, and it would fire. It would fire faster and faster and faster, and if you kept the trigger held down, eventually it would explode in your hands and kill you. Let me see, what else happened? Oh yeah, the pistol had the barrel facing towards you, so if you shot it, you shot yourself.
But yeah, no, Cursed Halo is amazing. He showed me, like a year or so ago, and I think my ribs cracked.
Yeah, I recommend looking up somebody playing Cursed Halo. It's insane.
I definitely want to check that mod out. It seems... I like what you told me about, like, the assault rifle blowing up, like, all the different weapons that, like, get changed around. I want to play with, like... Tino, let me ask you this, because you mentioned, like, they have, like, the stretch limousine Warthog, and they have, like, the really... like, the child's Jeep. Please tell me that they made, like, a clown car Warthog where it's like a regular Warthog, but like 100 Spartans could fit in it somehow.
As funny as that would be, I don't think they knew how to code it that way.
That would have been great. So, I guess I want to now, because I didn't ask this earlier. Natalie actually has a question akin to things about games, and I guess it indirectly relates to glitches and things of that nature, because I guess, you know, when you develop a game, obviously you want to develop it to have as few bugs in it as possible, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you're Bethesda, at which point you're actively trying to, you know, square the number of bugs in between game releases. So Natalie's question is, she wants to know our thoughts on Breath of the Wild and the Harry Potter game getting delayed. When I talked to her this past weekend, she was kind of upset about that, but I also tried to explain to her, like, well, generally if there's a delay, they're trying to, like, make the game as good as possible for the launch date. You know, but I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons for game delays, but, you know, basically she wants to hear all of our thoughts on the matter.
I think Breath of the Wild 2 is behind schedule, and it's mainly because of COVID. Because Nintendo, I think Nintendo is of the mind that they don't want people working from home. That's just my gut feeling. So it's going to take longer for them to release Breath of the Wild 2. So
I agree with Steve's explanation as the practical, most realistic expectation. I have a more hilarious one, considering the time frame of that delay announcement, which is Aonuma played Elden Ring.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And he was like,
he's like, wait, we gotta make Elden Ring. In, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Elden. Legend of Zelda
interpretations of that. One where he's playing
all the
Elden Ring.
models.
There's two interpretations of that. One where he's playing Elden Ring and he goes shit, and the other where he's going, ooh, okay, hey, let's do this. Let's add this in there.
Hey, you guys want to make cartoon Elden Ring? That sounds fun, right?
Oh man.
Yo, I would play Elden Ring in like cell shading. That'd be pretty cool.
Really pretty.
Dude, I would play Elden Ring of the. I mean, it started Elden Ring's Dark Souls of the Wild. I would play Elden Ring of the Wild.
Yeah.
All right, Nintendo, ship it. Let's go.
I'm a little sad about the Zelda delay, but I get it. It makes sense. Like, it's a good game, blah, blah, blah. You know what it is. Like, a bad game, it comes out too fast, etc., blah.
Yeah.
We all know the quote, except me.
A bad game that's rushed is bad forever. A good game that's delayed is, you know...
It's only bad for a little bit.
Can eventually be good.
Yeah. The thing about...
Didn't Miyamoto say that if Breath of the Wild ended up being bad, he was going to stop making Zelda forever?
Did he?
Oh.
I think so.
Which is weird because he's barely attached to that project.
It's because Skyward Sword did so poorly. But that's more of a Wii U issue than anything else. I don't necessarily think Skyward Sword was a bad game.
That's because he insisted on Skyward Sword having weird controls.
Furthermore, like, the motion controls, while they weren't great and were probably ultimately what killed that game, there's also the fact that Skyward Sword is the opposite of an open world game in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
Like, it is too linear. A lot of people like linearity, good for them.
Super
But it's just
linear.
And then you have to go to this nexus in the sky to get to the other areas. Like, you should be able to be like, even in Ocarina of Time, it was less restrictive than that.
Mm-hmm.
Replaying Skyward Sword recently really highlighted a lot of this.
You know, Skyward Sword,
fun.
As much fun as I had of Skyward Sword, it always reminded me of, like, you know how, like, you play through Final Fantasy X, and it's, like, in a way, Final Fantasy X's kind of a hallway, and then when you get to, like, the airship, it's like, all right, you can go to different parts of the hallway now. That's what Skyward Sword felt like, but with none of the actual fun of returning to earlier parts of the hallway.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of playing Final Fantasy X again, by the way. I'm sorry, it's like an off-the-side thing. And I'm stuck on trying to beat the Luca Goers for the first time, and I missed the eject shot. So I just want to just go bury my head in the fucking sand now.
So the easiest way to do it...
You don't have to beat them, by the way.
I want to.
The easiest way to do it is in that first quarter of the game. All right, if you get the ball first, just pass it around between all your players for the entire 5 minutes. And then in the second half, after you level up like 4 levels each, like you could just dominate the Luca Goers. It's super easy at that point.
Thank you. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
One thing that
I will say this, though. It can't get any worse than Final Fantasy 13. Am I right, guys? That is Hallway Simulator 2023.
Yeah, at least
like,
10 was
At
least 10 was a justified hallway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think 13 being a hallway was unacceptable.
For those not in the know, your characters are on a pilgrimage. They are going to their destination.
Yeah. 13 is like, hey, this girl's stuck in some ice, and
13 had literal hours of gameplay where you were going down an actual hallway.
Yeah, you were just pressing forward and then opening the item chests and then saving every 3 minutes. Because there were so many save points in Final Fantasy 13. It was literally like every 3 minutes.
What's
it
worse,
was insane.
It's
and
like
it restored your health and stuff.
Final Fantasy 13 was, hey, if you walk down this hallway for 30 hours, you could get to the fun part of the game where you'll be for like maybe 20 minutes.
What's worse, though, that or Final Fantasy 12, the game where you put down the controller, go to 7-Eleven, it's still fighting the boss for you. You come home, realize they fucked up your sandwich, go back to 7-Eleven. I don't know how they fucked up your sandwich, but they did. And then you come back, you eat, they're still fighting.
I mean,
yeah, you know what? You know what? I'm playing through Final Fantasy 12 right now. It's only listen, hear me out. It's only because one, I played the original for 2 hours and returned it, and two, because they did the Zodiac job system, which I think improves a lot of the game, and three, they added the fast forward option. So you can just endlessly grind that game like super fast and, you know, not have to like waste so much time. I think they added a lot of quality of life things to the HD PC version.
But did you open the forbidden chests by mistake and fuck yourself out of the missables?
I don't know what you're talking about. So
there's some chests in the beginning of the game, like in the beginning of the game. I think there's like a desert or something, if I recall correctly. And if you open those chests or like something, I think a bazaar somewhere, you fuck yourself out of a super strong weapon, if I recall correctly.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know if I encountered it. So maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know.
So,
but the game's not that hard to begin with, especially now that you can just grind super fast. Like, it's literally like really, really fast. So you just like run around the desert for a while and just get level after level and get all those license points and get to like a good part where, you know, you can afford and license all the equipment that you need.
Oh, they gave you the Resident Evil knife. Nice.
Yeah, like the game's much easier now. So it kind of feels like you're playing on easy mode, but not really, because you're not like super powerful, but you have the option to be if you want to.
Nice.
So the story's not terrible either. I used to think that the story was awful. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be.
I mean, it's Star Wars without the laser weapons.
I will say that it's pretty shallow, though. It's like, my kingdom got destroyed, and now we're under a different rule. well, we got to take it back, and that's like literally the entire game.
So Tino.
Anyway, I no go.
I was gonna say,
I'm done.
Tino,
No, I'm
being
done. Go
the
ahead.
only one of us who actually developed a game, can you actually describe like if you experience any delays and why you would have considered delaying your game, while you were making it?
Well,
So
he had
my-
no release date.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a release date because its existence was a surprise.
Okay,
But-
fair.
So that helped me get away with it a little bit. When I started out, part of this was just born out of ignorance. I did not know what it was going to take to actually get this from inception to completion. So I thought that it would take me like 4 or 5 months to make. It ended up taking me like a little bit over a year to create the game. And part of that was just because when I would run into a problem, it would usually be a problem that I wasn't expecting to run into and that I didn't immediately know how to solve. Vicky will vouch for me because she basically became my therapist the whole time I was trying to get this thing to work. Like, if you ask her how much I complained about the bottle sequence during one of Sayori's poems. I was trying to get the lighting right on that, and I was like, I wanted to be done with this a week ago. Why am I having so much trouble? I had the same problem trying to figure out how to make the save points function, or how to get the videos to play correctly, or something's screwed up with the lighting and the textures. How do I fix that? I don't know. There's no roadmap for this. And I think that that's a problem that you can run into that is unique to game development and just software development in general, because you're making this thing that hasn't really existed. It's not like if you were just painting a painting, then okay, you might make mistakes painting the painting, but you don't sit there and try to figure out how to actually get the paint to go onto the canvas. It's something that just happens. With games, something doesn't work, and it's not always immediately obvious why. Like, first time I tried to package the game, it didn't work, and it was giving me all these red compiler errors, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, what? It works in the engine, why isn't it compiling? What's going on? Like, I wanted to pull my hair out so many times while making Swan Song. So I would say go easy on the developers of Breath of the Wild 2 and the Harry Potter game, because if they're discovering glitches late in the game and they're trying to fix them and they might not necessarily know how, they're having to rubber duck test it, then, that's something that they might not necessarily have a roadmap for. You can't always say, oh yes, I will have this glitch solved in 2 hours after I've just banged on my keyboard enough times. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, you usually get the QA guy crying and screaming.
Yeah.
And I can vouch for you on the whole development process, because I do some programming for my job, and this kind of ties into just IT work in general. Computers are very mysterious things, and they do things that you don't always expect. I mean, it's easy to think that computers are just zeros and ones. It doesn't always work that way, and there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to computers in general, and that's why there's an entire industry dedicated to people that just solve problems. That it's not like you open a manual and you go, okay, this isn't working, turn to page 10. That's not how troubleshooting works. So I can totally vouch for you. I've made entire programs that are like thousands of lines of code long, and I'll try and compile it, and it'll just yell at me and say really ambiguous words that I've never seen before, and are really
that's frustrating, right?
And are really hard to Google sometimes because it's very specific to something you're doing. So yeah, development is tough. It takes a whole team of people to work on certain chunks of the game and different aspects of it, like inventory and art design, and all that stuff has to mesh together to make one final product. And it's a lot. It takes a lot. So I never feel bad. I never get mad when games get delayed. I mean, it is what it is. We're all still gonna be here when it comes out.
Yeah, they're not making a Subway sandwich. You know,
you can play something else, or you can, do some other hobby, or, focus on something else. When the game comes out, it'll be hopefully right. That's what we hope for. Mm-hmm. But, that's the hope.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even all the playtesting that you do isn't always going to uncover all of the glitches. Like, you guys did stuff that I wasn't expecting anybody to do and didn't know would cause problems. Like, oh, hey, you got off of a moving elevator that was going up, and now the elevator's stuck up there. I didn't expect that to happen, Will.
I put some Breath of the Wild shit where I'm like, hey, Tino, am I supposed to be on top of these knives? Yeah, it's like, no, I mean these ones. I take a video of the ones that are hovering way above. And you're like, how the hell did you get up there?
Yeah, I literally don't know how you got up there. I designed it to be a set piece that you weren't supposed to be able to interact with, but somehow you got up there. So
if there's collision physics, there's a fucking way.
Yeah, I guess
that's why you always need multiple testers, because you know how the game is gonna run, and an expected way to complete it. You're not expecting other people to try different things. And it's the same whenever I code something. Before I release it, I give it to a couple people that I trust that will be able to effectively break it in some way. And I feel like that's the best way to go about it. And that's why they have entire teams of testers at development studios. I mean, it's like tens to 20, 30 people where they just all test different aspects of the game to find out.
Or it could be like Sonic Team and they have 0.
What's that?
Or it could be like Sonic Team and they have 0. Please continue.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. Bethesda actually has a very large QA team, which is kind of funny, but also understandable.
Do any of them talk to each other? Do any of them talk to each other?
I think Bethesda is just super ambitious with their projects. I think that's really the heart of the issue.
What was that, Tino?
I said, do any of them talk to each other?
I don't know. I knew someone who was on the QA team for Bethesda, but she works somewhere else now. I forget where.
Bethesda employs the largest QA team in the country. Not only is it the largest QA team in the country, it is also 100% staffed by people who are blind and incapable of communicating with each other.
I think people are too mean about Bethesda, but I understand the hate. I do, but
honestly, like a priority stack or something that doesn't need to be fixed.
I'm not mad about the glitches in Bethesda games because honestly, what was the point of this podcast? Glitches are entertaining.
Indeed.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not when you're talking to someone in Fallout 4 and then the conversation just stops, but you're still in the talking cutscene mode where you can't escape and you have to reset your console. Thanks, Bethesda. I managed to get an exploding minigun finally, and you screwed me out of it.
I saw a funny glitch the other day. It was Red Dead Redemption 2. If you get off the horse right when you're about to enter a cutscene, it'll slow you down, so you'll just be running. And the entire cutscene has to wait for you to get to the right spot before it'll continue. So you're just running in the snow, taking 10 seconds when the horse is probably much faster.
Oh my god, no.
So speaking of games that are coming out,
oh no.
Steve, I believe you mentioned Kingdom Hearts Versus 4.
Kingdom Hearts 4 has been announced. It's coming back.
Wait, you mean Kingdom Hearts Versus 13?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Kingdom Hearts 4, it looks different. It's probably going to be stupid. And
yeah,
I don't really care. I heard it got announced the day after, and I'm like, I don't really care. This is going to be good for the podcast, though.
There's something about this.
I'm interested in it. I'm interested in it because it looks like it's using Unreal Engine 5. So I'm interested in it. I'm interested in it from a tech perspective because it's getting real time. When I was watching that trailer, it looked like the Advent Children film from 2005, except it was all real time.
Right.
It was that good.
Yeah, well, it's going to be on PS5. There's no PS4 release as far as I know, so...
Yeah,
it's going to look nice.
The thing that I thought was really kind of interesting about this trailer was a lot of the rumors that I've heard people talking about And the joke that I made, like, this is Kingdom Hearts versus 13, is that apparently the rumor going around is that Nomura is still really bitter about making Final Fantasy 15 and not Final Fantasy versus 13.
Correction.
He's got to get over it.
Slight correction. He didn't make 15. Versus 13 was ripped from him, and someone else directed the rest of 15.
Oh, then whatever. But however it happened, I mean, you know what I mean. So apparently he's going to use Kingdom Hearts 4 to basically tell the story that he wanted to tell for Versus 13. So, I mean...
Oh, man.
If that ends up happening, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I know I still have to play Kingdom Hearts 3. But I also know that I've played that game 0 times, but I watched the 6-hour-long video about how it was a waste of time.
You watched the whole video?
3 times already.
No way.
Yes.
You could have played the game in that amount of time.
I probably could have, yeah.
I remember when I was playing Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, I played 1, 2, a little bit of some of the DS and PSP ones, and I picked up 3, and I was just fucking around in Olympus, and I'm like, hey, Dave, and I'm just texting him, I'm like, what the fuck did I miss? And then he went on for a tangent for, like, what was that, honey, like 5 hours?
5 hours where I explained to you what is now the basis of Kingdom Hearts lore, which is all the mobile games. I will say the following about Kingdom Hearts 4. 1, there were 2 other mobile games announced during that thing. They kept the same font as the prior games, but Kingdom Hearts 4 has new font, representing that this is a true shift. Ooh.
I find it amusing that every instance that we have of somebody explaining Kingdom Hearts seems to take the better part of a day. You've got Will watching that video about why it sucked. That took 5 hours. Vicky listening to Dave about the mobile games took 5 hours or so. The video where the guy who made a good enough summary of Kingdom Hearts, like when it was getting explained to him, that took 7 hours. Like, like,
yeah,
look, we don't have that kind of time, people.
Because, I mean, we've said it over and over again. Kingdom Hearts is a convoluted mess that I don't understand why anyone would like it.
I think
I feel like people just have Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
they're at that point where like they just have to like stay in it because they've been invested enough.
Well, it's like when you start watching a TV show and it starts off really good, but then like it starts to get bad. But you're like, well,
Dead.
I've been watching it.
Sunk cost. It's like a sunk cost thing. Yeah.
It's not a sunk cost thing. It's just, how do I put this? Kingdom Hearts has done something very rare in media, which is it raises a bunch of questions and then it answers those questions.
With
and it
other
actually
questions.
provides definitive answers to them and doesn't leave a lot hanging. Now, are those answers good? No. A lot of them are dumb as hell.
Hey, Tino?
Hey,
Not
what?
enough plot threads!
So I think.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. The last thing I wanted to say, in that vein for that 2-hour thing, I could sit here and explain to you the plot of decade-long MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. And I could probably do that, and I could probably go through the plot of all the expansions in 30, 45 minutes. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts would take 10 hours. Please enjoy the 16th installment in the Kingdom Hearts series, Kingdom Hearts 4.
The search for more money.
So
The search for Versus 13.
Also, can I say that Gaius did nothing wrong?
wow.
And he was right. And he was right.
Damn.
For the world to mean anything, man must own the world. I don't know what else to tell
Garlean,
you.
go back to your... Okay, Garlean, go back to your capital. Oh, wait.
I mean, I'll say this. I think one of my favorite aspects that's been revealed about Kingdom Hearts 4 so far is the fact that in the time frame between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 4, only 2 years have passed. So Kingdom Hearts 4 will be starring a 16-year-old Sora.
Just like Ash Ketchum.
What kind of
That's a
time
lie, and I
dilation
hate
nonsense
you.
is this?
All right, well, I think that's enough.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm out.
Is it enough, Steve? And don't lie to me or I'll know.
Listen, I am an adult and I deserve an adult glass.
Nah, this milk is spoiled.
Man, I aged them.
Good night,
That's the wrong
America.
quote. You're supposed to say, no, it ain't spoiled. It's spreadable and it's edible.
And it's edible. Meat one, no. Meat one, yes.
I aged them on the window so they get all nice and gooey. When they start stinking and making the house smell bad, that's when they's getting good.
Oh, God. All right. Good night, America.
Night, everybody.